So on my grandfather, on his life and times, I will try to present some aspects that are perhaps not that well known. But I'm very happy to be here and very happy to be giving this talk. As you can see, I've titled it Grandfather, a Man of Conviction. This photograph was taken in Lahore in 1946. I'm 5 years old. I'm that small boy that you see looking upwards into the sky. And my grandfather is on the right, wearing the black sherwani, and my father is holding my hands. So life has changed, full circle, and now I am as old as my grandfather, and have not done as much as he did, but this is how life progresses. So, a little bit about the family. The family was based in a place known as Bera. Bera is a medieval town on the east bank of, I think it's the Jhelum. And it was a prosperous family. They were businessmen, but they also, those days, there were not many banks. So one of the activities of prominent citizens was to lend money. So there was a lot of business going on. The Western world was opening up, and this is basically what they used to sell. We sold wheat, wool, majid, and a number of other things. But then after some time, most of the business was by boats along the Indus River. And one day it happened that a storm arose, and from being very wealthy citizens in Bhera, they became overnight very, very poor. And this is the time when my grandfather was growing up. So his life was full of struggle. From a very young age, I think his whole education was through scholarships, merit scholarships. He was very, very hardworking. So I'd like to tell you some facets of his life that I've come to know. This happened on its own. So this photograph basically shows you there was a large family. My grandfather there, my grandmother, and you'll see that there were 5 brothers and 4 sisters. And as you can see, this is the occasion of the death of their mother. Let me just tell you, this is the eldest. He was a physician from Edinburgh, then Beaver, then my father, Bodhraj, Dabar at law, and Manohar, who was a Dabar technologist. The daughters were equally gifted. Leelavati Kohli was one of the first women graduates of Punjab University, and Lakhwati was the first graduate from a very famous girls' college in Lahore, known as Kinnaird. So there were most of the sons of Ruchi Ram were educated abroad, as you can see, and this is one of the reasons why many of them took to science or to medicine. Some problem with this. Can you just handle that? That's not working. Yeah, it takes some. So education at that time in Lahore or in the Punjab was very different to what it's today. There were no regular schools. There were some missionary schools, but by and large, if you had the money, there was, as you can see, teachers who used to come to the home and then teach. And this is from my father's autobiography. It says MRS, LAS, Landmarks and Strand Lines. This has not been published, but a lot of my data is from Ruchi Ram's own autobiography and my father's autobiography. So it's interesting to know how education took place in Lahore or in Punjab around the late part of the 19th century. So Urdu, English, Sanskrit, mathematics, elements of chemistry, rudiments of Latin. So it was, you have to realize that the British were there, and in order to communicate or to do well, there was always this problem that you had to speak good English. So here, as you can see, these were some of the books that are listed by my father. This is now 19th century. Darwin's Origin of Species, Herbert Spencer, Seeley's Expansion of the British Empire, a book on astronomy, a number of books by Charles Dickens and Don Quixote and the rest. So these were the kinds of books that they read. So one of the most illustrious sons of Ruchi Ram, of course, was Birbal, but I think the father had a lot to do with how the young children took to science. Firstly, he was greatly influenced by his father and the treks they took to the Himalaya. Every summer, even in those days, they would go to very arduous and very difficult excursions, and Birbal then had Hooker's Flora Indica with him, and between 1907 and 1911, mostly three people, Ruchi Ram, Birbal and my father, went to a number of places, right from Pathankot to Leh and Zojila, Balta, Amarnath. In those days it was very difficult to do that. Birbal is also known for a very large vision. He was a paleobotanist, but he had a very large vision and he was very interested in coin making. He found coin molds in Rohtak, and he was very, very good in sports. All of them were very good in sports. Now, I'm telling you about the life and times. Today we have institutions that manage disaster management. But in those days, the responsibility of managing a disaster fell on the prominent citizens of the city. And many, the Arya Samaj and the other Samaj, the community also took a very active role in managing disasters. The Kangra earthquake in 1905 was a very disastrous earthquake, and everyone who could do something did something. So at that point of time, Ruchi Ram was a Brahmo Samaji, taken up the religion of Brahmo Samaj, and he went himself to a number of these places, and when he could not do that, he spoke to the manager of his workshop, a graduate in science, and offered him full pay to manage the huge disaster that had taken place in 1905 way across Himachal, Punjab and those areas. So they were very, very committed to society. Similarly, another case of disaster management just to show the commitment to society. There was no need to do that. There was no institution that did that. But there was a big famine in 1918, and my grandfather